Hey, well, I think we're finally live. So, hey, happy Monday, everybody. We're gonna kick this off the way we always do. Who knew how important Frank was to making this work great? Let's figure out how this works. Oh, we're almost there. So, thanks for finding the geek spot. My name is Jack Kidd. I'll be your host this evening. We're gonna see how things go. Frank is on a plane flying to go be a Jedi for a few days. So you're stuck with me for now, but I'm gonna miss a few weeks. So we figured we'd get some things in. A lot of stuff happened in the last few days to catch everybody up on. So again, thanks for finding the geek spot with me. You can always tell a friend. I know we're not on YouTube tonight. We will be on YouTube as a regular video later tonight or tomorrow. So you can always still join the conversation there and catch up on what's going on in the world of geek. So gonna get started with some quick news. This won't be your regular full length episode because it's just me, but happy to talk with anybody in the chat. Hey there, Mom. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the other people that are already watching too. Like I said, we will be on YouTube later on, so I apologize for that little snafu with getting everything working tonight. But let's get into some of the news updates, and then we'll talk about some of the finales that aired this week. We got some close to finales. We got some strike news. We got a movie that came out. There's so much stuff this week. It's crazy. So, couple things we saw. So, just on the movie front and what I've been up to, you can always check me out at jackkidmusic.com, figure out where you'll get at me next. I did manage to go see the Marvels this week. We'll close out talking about the Marvels. But to kick things off, couple movie trailers dropped in the last week. We got the new Ghostbusters trailer. Looks way better than Afterlife. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know my thoughts on Afterlife and Frank's. He's a big fan of it. We had Danny on special that episode to talk about it. I thought it was a lot of setup for not a lot of payoff once we got to the end of that, but I think this new one just going to dive right in and be action nonstop. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a great movie once it comes out. And it looks like we get a lot more of the original Ghostbusters in it too, which should be pretty awesome. We also had, if you saw, Mean Girls is coming back. We were saying I was just playing Mean Girls a few weeks ago. I had no idea the movie was getting rebooted and coming back out in January. It looks like they kept Tim Meadows and Tina Fey as the main teacher and the principal. So we'll see how that looks when it comes out. Looks like it's going to be pretty much the same movie, just a little bit updated to keep up with modern technology and all the social media that's come out since the original. If you've seen the musical, it looks like it's going to be a little closer to how that storyline's working. Yeah, Dom, sorry about the YouTube. I didn't realize that login is just Frank's, so I can't log into that. I sent him a text, but he's on a plane, so no YouTube just yet. So we'll be back there next week, and this video will actually be up there later on tonight. Uh, So we hit up Ghostbusters, Mean Girls. We got a new trailer for Dead Boy Detectives. If you watch Doom Patrol or read Vertigo comics from DC, this is a pair of uh, boy detectives that are of British descent that passed away that are stuck in between worlds because their final mystery is unsolved. So instead, they go around and they have a partner in the real world and they go try and solve mysteries. This was originally picked up as an HBO Max show, got dropped by HBO Max, and is now going to be a Netflix series. So that's coming out real soon. Now we just got that trailer and looks like it's going to be pretty fun. Other movie news we got Coyote versus Acme, which was all the rage and is part of the latest in WB's cuts, where they decide that they're going to drop things and not pay for them anymore, so that we don't get to watch them in the theater. So right now, though, it sounds like they are shopping that actively. Unlike a lot of the stuff like Batgirl that they shelved, they're actually going to be shopping that movie. So we should be able to get to see that sometime in the near future on at least a streaming service. So and from what I saw, that actually looks like it's pretty fun. It's a live action In and Out with Coyote and Acme. So we had that. We got a new. The strike is over also, which is super exciting news. So immediately after the strike was over, Marvel went and volleyed in a couple people on late night. Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson showed right after the strike officially ended, and we're pumping up the Marvels and the Loki finale last week. Talk about both of those in a little bit. And also with that, we got a bunch of schedule moves that happened last week right before the strike ended too. From a Marvel standpoint, it looks like we're just going to get Deadpool coming up this year. Hopefully there's no conflict so they can finish filming that coming up. And we get that in July. That took the former Captain America New World Order date. And right now, nothing's going on the Deadpool date. All the different studios have pushed a lot of stuff. Even Fast 11 is now undated from the theaters. There's some Sony Marvel films, one that was scheduled to be released next November that's untitled right now, that's also pushed to undated. All of those, all the other Marvel stuff got pushed out. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire I was talking about earlier, that's now on March 29th. As Charles, who tunes in, loves Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, will be coming out in February. So if you haven't seen the first one, it sounds like it is a blast still. We also have more Universal stuff getting moved into next year. Blumhouse is putting a bunch of stuff next year. The Venom sequel will still be released next November, which is great news that that's still coming out. All of those movies are just a lot of fun. If you haven't enjoyed the Venom movies, take another look. If you have liked the Venom movies and have not played Spider-Man 2 yet, go do it. Just finish that game over the weekend. And it was amazing from start to finish. I'll talk about that in a little bit too when I get to the Marvel stuff. The Captain America Brave New World that was pushed from July is pushed out to February of 2025. So lots of moves in the theaters there, lots of moves from movies. Finally, they're getting back to work. Some of them are so busy they can't even get back to work. Just heard about for The Mandalorian, because I don't have much Star Wars news, so I'll just hit it real quick. Mandalorian season 4, Pedro is not even going to show up on set. Why isn't he going to show up on set? Because his first priority is filming Gladiator 2, which already has a bunch of stuff filmed, but he has to go star in the second half of that they're filming now that the strike's over. And he's diving right from that right into The Last of Us season 2. So he does not have time to do The Mandalorian season 4. Luckily, I don't think he was on The Mandalorian season 3 very much. He's just going to go in and drop all his voiceover work after the fact, like he's done the last couple years. So even though that's big news, so to speak, I don't think it's really going to have an impact on anything going on there. But that is a little bit of news for Star Wars this week, that it seems like Mandalorian season 4 is going to try and get started pretty quick now that the strike's over, so they can get that back, Disney Plus back on track from a show standpoint. Dom, I saw you talking about the Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer. I didn't see that one yet because I still never watched any of the Avatar stuff. I did not watch the M. Night Shyamalan remake, and I also did not watch the original series. I know. I'm not usually the one with things on his list, but that one is one that has been on my list just because it's such a time investment. I haven't been able to break down and say I'm going to watch all the episodes of the original series yet, but I know a lot of people are excited for that, and I can't wait for that to come out. I'll probably end up watching the Netflix new series before I watch all the original stuff to come in with a little bit of a blank slate, which can be better sometimes, as we'll hear when we're going through some of these other things that have come out lately. So, I think we'll continue to hear a lot of news about movies moving, things getting canceled, actors not available to do roles, so recasting, and all of the DC stuff from what has been reported, will still be on track. Superman will make its release date and still be able to start filming in March. So I think we'll get a lot of casting news for all of the DC and some other Marvel things in the very near future. So looking forward to hearing about that from all of them. Couple things that I've been watching lately. If you are still behind on Invincible, go catch up. This episode 2 came out last Thursday. It's fantastic. The show continues to show how the comic medium works better in comics than animation. You know, there's a lot of things that can be missed when you go to live action, and now you got to pay cast, and you can't pay off things from years ago because you can't get the person back, or the effect that you want to do is too expensive, or so many of these things. And that's why the fantastical world of all of those places, like the world of Invincible, where there's so many callbacks and characters that come back, and crazy things that you can do in the effects over the span of a few years that you can't do in live action, is because actors get old, as I've said once or twice on this show. It's great. There's so many callbacks to season one already, and they're continue to move the story forward and have real character development, which is always nice on an animated series. But this one's definitely got the adult take, and you get to see more progression there from those characters. I know everybody's heard me talk about Doom Patrol off and on over the last few years. We did just hit the end of that series on HBO Max this last week. This was another show where they had a weird season. It was only 12 episodes. They dropped 6, like maybe 7 or 8 months ago. And then they had the long break as they finished tweaking and editing the last 6. And that dropped about 3-4 weeks ago. They dropped 3 episodes the first week, I think, and then 1 a week for the next couple weeks. The show has always been kind of weird, kind of quirky, kind of cerebral, depending on how you want to go into it. But it's always been a lot of fun, and always leaned into kind of the weird, quirky world of Doom Patrol, and how they're on the outskirts of everything while they still exist in that regular DC universe. So that's been pretty cool watching that play out. They finally got to Immortus, the big bad. I think they hit most of the big bads that show ever, the comic series ever had in the classic run. And they still managed to bring back all sorts of characters from throughout the series in these last handful of episodes. And you got Michelle Gomez that joined last season and continued through this year. That was a great addition to the cast. And you still have, Matt Bomer, Brendan Fraser just doing great work from a voiceover standpoint. And occasionally you do get to see them in live action too, which is fun on this show. But they tied it up really nice. They gave all of the characters an actual ending. There was no like open, oh, well, this might go on. Nope. They were like, we're just going to wrap this up with a bow, give every single character a meaningful finale, which was really nice. Diane Guerrero, who was in Orange is the New Black as well, has been amazing on this show the whole run. And she got some really, really good work to do this season. She plays a character called Crazy Jane, who is multiple personalities, and kind of one kind of running lead on them, but then they take over, and each one that takes over has different powers. So she's gotten to do a lot of work on that psychological side over the run of the show, and no different the last few episodes. But she was completely unexpected from what she had played in previous roles that I'd seen her this one. And I look forward to seeing what she and the rest of the cast of Doom Patrol do next. So definitely recommend, if you haven't caught up on Doom Patrol or haven't started yet, go dig in. It's literally a start to finish package now, and I don't think you'll be missing anything by the end. One other show, and then I'll start diving into some of my thoughts on the Loki finale, and on the Marvels. And anybody that wants to chime in and chat, you're welcome to. I will touch on anything that you bring up too. So Fear the Walking Dead has 2 episodes left. If you've listened to this, you've heard about Frank's love for zombies. You've heard about my the fact that I actually dove into these shows and didn't stop. With Fear the Walking Dead, I had FOMO when it first came out, so I wasn't sure. I was like, all right, look, I didn't start The Walking Dead till season like 5, so I missed out on a ton. And then I was like, let me jump in. Jumped in on Walking Dead, and I was like, this is great. Fear the Walking Dead, I was like, this looks dumb, so I didn't want to do it. And then I took the chance and I said, I'm not going to quit because I'm going to quit and it's going to get really good. And everybody's going to tell me that I shouldn't have dropped off. So I stuck with it. And first season, second season, okay. But by the third season of that show, got really good and started telling really different stories. And then by season 5, they tied all these characters from the original series in, and you started to get all this additional development from Morgan, who was a character on the very first episode of The Walking Dead and came all the way through. And Lenny James just did amazing work as him. He bowed out halfway through this final season, and they brought back Madison Clark, who was the lead for Fear the Walking Dead to begin with. And then you get a ton of great work from her this season. You get the character, I don't remember the actor's name, but character Dwight from the original Walking Dead is on Fear the Walking Dead along with Sherry, and you got to see those characters develop. I talked about it last week. I think they went back to Sanctuary and got to tie up a lot of the loose ends and storylines that we had from there before. But Fear the Walking Dead, they brought on some new showrunners. I want to say in season 5 when they brought on Jenna Elfman and a whole bunch of other people, and now they're on season 8 and they're wrapping up that series in 2 weeks. But if you are behind on that or you gave up after like season 5 or season 6, go catch up. It's great storylines. There's great development. There's nothing slow. They made it a point every season. This one's been a little bit different, but where they go and they dig in on one character on each episode and then bring them back together. So you get a lot of actual character development instead of so many people on screen all the time, like we end up seeing in a lot of these things where you can't get to really develop any of the characters because you're trying to develop all the characters. This show's been smart and avoided that and really gotten to do some character driven story that we're sorely missing in a lot of other medium that we see right now. That's just got maybe 20 minutes of content and they're squeezing 6 episodes of TV out of it. Instead of this, you get an hour of content every week with different character development to show you their progression and how they evolve to where they end up. It's been really good stuff. So now there was a finale and a premiere. I think the finale was probably easier for people to watch than the premiere. I'd love to be talking about this with Frank, but like I said, I have family commitments the next 2 weeks, so I will not be here. Dom, you might get tagged in at some point during that to team up with Frank, but I definitely want to hear Frank's thoughts on Loki and the Marvels. If I can tap in the chat those weeks, I absolutely will. So Loki, right? You all know how much I've loved this season if you've been watching. And by love this season, I mean couldn't wait for the 6th episode. So we got through Loki. Spoilers again for the finale of Loki. And look, I Dom, I do not know if Frank will have watched the Marvels by then. I hope he's going to be very busy in Disney, living that Disney life. So we'll see. I know he watched the Loki finale, so at least we'll be able to get his thoughts on there. Um, but and maybe it's just me because I watch a lot of comic TV, as you all know, and sci-fi fantasy TV and things like that, and they all love a good time loop. And I might just be so burned out by time loop episodes of television that I just can't. I could not get into Loki this whole season. When we just said, okay, we're gonna do another time loop. Okay, great. And now we're gonna study physics for hundreds of years and become a master physicist. Great, cool. I mean, look, it took you're a god, so that shouldn't be a big deal. But I think Marvel's come to a crossroads where they want to play with these characters and make them gods, but they don't know how to do it because they're just making them space aliens for the most part. And I still never bought in on this Loki. Um, because this isn't the Loki that we spent all these years with, right? They say it's the end of the 14-year journey for Loki, but it's not because it's the Loki from the Avengers movie that they tagged into this. It's not the Loki that we got that went through Dark World and Ragnarok and all of this character development that we got in the movies. This is the Loki that was just kind of a punk And then we tried to do all this development here, but I just never paid off for me. I wish it had. I think Tom Hiddleston did some great acting, great work on this show. Um, but I've seen so many time loop episodes the last few years that I didn't need another time loop episode. And I don't want Loki as a hero. I think the biggest one of my biggest gripes with Marvel is any of the good villains that they develop, they don't keep, right? Every time we get a villain on this show, on any of these shows, they're either gone by the end of the movie and they kill them off, and there's no way they're coming back unless they're Kang, who we don't get Kang back, but we kind of do, but we get a lot of Kangs now. But so I guess Ant-Man was after Loki season 2, even though the sequence at the end of it was after Ant-Man that showed us what happened and set up Loki season 2. But it's also all outside of time, so it all has always been there. So now nothing makes sense, because technically, if this Loki's always been there, because he's there at the end and the beginning of time and all of time. So now we're just in a new timeline for Marvel. But then we're going to be in another new timeline and multiverse with Deadpool next year. So yeah, they're making it way too complicated for a casual viewer to understand what the hell is going on with this. And I get it. And comic books are complicated, but comic books also have dozens of titles a month and 12 plus issues every year and crossovers and tell independent stories. And then when they want to pull everything back in, they can reference at this point, and even when they first started doing big crossovers, 30 to 40 years of storyline to go back and pull things out and be like, you remember this. And if not, here's a quick flashback. These shows now don't even give us the flashback. So we end up, and again, spoilers, where Loki becomes the core of Gradsel, the Norse tree that gives life to everything, and all of the 9 realms stem from. But not really, because it's time based. So that's where that is. And look, and Jonathan Majors was fine. I still don't feel any fear of any of the characters they've shown for that. I mean, maybe he's trying to play it as it's so powerful that we don't need to fear him, or we do fear him, but he has so much power that he doesn't care, that he doesn't act frightening. I think some of his choices with Victor Timely were not great. Look, and I've read everything online and all the reviews, and like everybody thinks Loki was phenomenal. I thought it was fine. Um, I I I, I don't feel like I accomplished anything watching it, because I feel like we just went back to the beginning by the end of it. So the whole show is just one big time loop, really. Um, so which is fine. And it was weird to see a love story between a character and his multi-dimensional other self, just because she happened to be a blonde girl and not look just like him. So that was weird. And even the producers now said that the final season was based on, was really driven by the love story between Sylvie and Loki, which makes no sense to me at all. But that's what they're going with. So um, Frank might have different thoughts on the finale of Loki. So tune in next week, see what he thinks about it. Um, he might be in a better spot, unless I have poisoned his mind to go my route and negative on so many things. So speaking of negative on so many things, uh, those were the Loki spoilers. I am going to spoil some stuff in the Marvels now. So if you have not caught up on the Marvels, um, tune out, come back. Like I said, this will be up as a clip on YouTube, and it'll be up on our podcast. So, drop out about 25 minutes in and come back. Like I said, Marvel spoilers. So, as the guy that's negative about everything, I will say, I thought the Marvels was the best movie Marvel's put out since No Way Home. Easily. It was the first movie they've had that was fun. They played overpowered characters as overpowered characters, because every character in that movie, well, at least they don't call her Photon yet, but Doctor or Captain Rambeau whatever you want to call her, and Captain Marvel or Captain Danvers. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the latest Guardians movie, Dom. I thought it was fine. But I had more emotional hits and laugh and cry in this movie than I did in anything that's come out since Endgame, but No Way Home was really good, so I'm not going to discount it. Um, I thought, and I don't know what you thought of the Miss Marvel TV show, but that's still my top TV show that Marvel's done because I think Iman Vellani, who plays Kamala Khan, is unbelievable and just so much fun to watch. She just has a blast, and it comes off the screen how much fun she's having. So it makes me ignore like Brie Larson, pretty stiff, but then they played into why the character plays so stiff, right? She still doesn't know who she is. She still doesn't remember anything. And she's so insanely overpowered that she could decimate an entire race and not realize that she could fix it. Um, yeah. So the movie was great for you as a Miss Marvel sequel. All right, let me pull that up here. Sucks as a Captain Marvel sequel. Uh, I I think the problem with doing a Captain Marvel sequel out of the origin story, as we said, what threat can you make for Captain Marvel? Right? She's so overpowered. Um, and unless you play her down and dumb her down like you've done Thor, where he just does stupid stuff, which is why he's not as overpowered as he really should be against most of the villains and the things that they fight in this. Um, I thought pulling in the quantum bands, which I feel like, and I don't know if everybody else noticed this that saw the movie, but at one point, when towards the end, when Captain Marvel is in her fight and goes and beats the villain, I don't even remember the villain's name, so probably not a great villain if I can't remember her name. Who again they killed off by the end of the movie, so no chance for extra development for her. Um, and the quantum bands floating there, both of them. Uh, Kamala still uses her powers and her light powers and takes a big handout to bring them back onto the ship. So I think she doesn't need the bands to run her powers now. And the other kind of issue with that is they went back to her just having one band all the time after the fact. So I don't know what their plan was for the other one. Um, but like I saw people that bumped up against the fact there was a planet they got by singing. That to me, that's the kind of fun. And this movie didn't have a lot of like dark, depressing notes. It was super tight. I mean, it was an hour and 45, which is crazy short for a Marvel movie. But if it had been longer, I probably wouldn't have liked it because they would have delved into let's get these deep emotional beats and make things dark and dreary like every other Marvel movie's been. And this one was just fun and lighthearted and even had some good laughs. You know, the Flurkins were a bit much. Um, But I thought that was a clever play in there, and again, fun and a chance to go laugh at a Marvel movie. I can't tell you the last time I laughed and had fun when I went to see a Marvel movie. It was more like, "Oh my god, look at this doom and gloom. How is anybody gonna make it?" You know, and comic books should be fun, and the comic book movies should be fun, right? Like Ant-Man and the second Ant-Man were fun. The new Ant-Man wasn't fun, and that it didn't resonate because it wasn't fun. I still don't know that they've advertised this movie right. Um, you know, and I think that one of the main things that's going to hurt this movie is of the four main characters, you know, counting Fury as a main character, two of the four were only ever introduced on the TV shows. So, you know, whatever that audience is, it's still not for box office success, either one of those. Um, saw that they have greenlit Miss Marvel season 2, which is awesome. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. And if they bring in all these young Avengers that they've advertised and brought in on the shows, you know, some pretty cool cameos there. You got a Valkyrie cameo. You got the cameo from Girl Hawkeye at the end from Kate Bishop. Girl Hawkeye, sorry for that. But you got those cameos at the end, which was great. Um, but you had to make this villain kind of overpowered fairly quickly, and not a lot, because the story wasn't what about the battle between Ms. Marvel and the villain. It was about her and what she did to the Kree, and not thinking she could fix it and just having to go on and do her thing. And why didn't she come back to see, Captain Trouble or Lieutenant Trouble? Because she couldn't remember enough to want to go back, and she didn't think she was worthy of going back because she'd ruined all these things. Um, but I thought it was really, really fun how they played through all that. And like I said, I would watch. I've watched Miss Marvel. I think I watched a handful of the episodes more than once, and I don't rewatch stuff much anymore. Um, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching that get built out. I don't know how they get there in time for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, so I feel like that's something that's going to be a long play, and they will not be Young Avengers by then. So another problem with moving from the comics and animation to live action. Um, so in the Young Avengers, I mean, I think we get Cassie next. I think they convert Yelena back over from the Thunderbolts by the end of that, because I think that maybe New World Order from Captain America will be our next couple teases. I think we probably get another character or two introduced. We might get, Morgan Stark. They might bring her in because Riri Williams as Ironheart. I don't know how that's going to work out, because it doesn't seem like they're moving forward with that anytime soon. So, I think you could get Ironheart in there if they do bring her back, or Morgan Stark, either one of them. Uh, I don't know who else they pull in from the multiverse. I don't know if they pull some characters from Deadpool and bring them in or not, if as we introduce more multiversal things through there. Dylan, hey, thanks for joining, man. Great to see you. Um, they could bring in Patriot from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Look, they've introduced a handful of them. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Scarlet Witch's kids back, because they are actually members of the Young Avengers in the comics. So we'll see where they go with it. I think, as great as the characters they've introduced are so far, I think they do need to balance it out, because right now it looks like we're going for an all young, all female Avengers, which, while I don't have a problem with that, because I think a lot of people had a problem with this movie, and not anybody here, but I think a lot of people had a problem with this movie and just don't want to talk about the fact that it was a female led movie and they have issues with that. They wanted to see guys beating each other up. Um, but I think if you try and make an Avengers movie that is all young female versions of the characters that we had in the first movie, that's going to be there. There's going to be some pushback, and it's not going to hit the numbers that Marvel wants it to hit. I'm going to be surprised if we get She-Hulk in there. If you bring Tatiana Maslany in there, as well, or even Scar, right? Because Scar was introduced at the end of She-Hulk, Hulk's son, and he is also pulled in the original Young Avengers, along with Hulkling and some other characters similar to that. So we'll see if they pull them in. And I won't go full spoilers on it, but the nod where Photon, and the fact that they never actually named her character a superhero name, I thought was hilarious to me, even though they mentioned most of the names that she's had in the comics over the years, like Spectrum and Captain. I forget half of them, but they were all just kind of throwaway names. But a couple of them were there. So the cameos at the very end were incredible, and I think really set up some exciting things for Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But we go back to, again, depending on who all they pull into these things, um, people get older, and it's been, you know 20 plus years since some of these characters were first seen in the movies, and they most of them weren't super young then. Some of them were. Some of them look the same. Some of them don't age. Um, if you've seen the Sonic movies, you know what I'm talking about. But a lot of them do. So I don't know how that's going to pull back in for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. Dylan, I agree with you about getting a little break from Marvel in 2024. I don't know how many shows we're getting in 2024. I know we're getting Echo in January. But supposedly that's going to be the first Marvel show you don't need to have seen any other Marvel shows to watch, which feels weird because it also picks up right at the end of Hawkeye and has fallout from the Hawkeye show. So I don't know how you have to have not watched Hawkeye to pick that up, but that's what they're saying. I think we get Agatha this year, and I feel like there's something else, but I'm not sure what it is. I know What If comes out sometime in December. We'll see if that plays in. We get our Captain Carter back in that show, and then we get Captain Carter back in this multiverses war. Would be awesome. Um, but the longer they push things out and the longer they wait, the tougher it's going to be to get all these actors, one, to come back for a decent amount of money and that they can afford, and to pull it off. That's one of the wonderful things about the comic world. Again, like I've said a few times, it's so much nicer to just be able to draw in whatever character you want whenever you want, and just make sure that they're kind of free in their title, that they could, have taken a day and gone off and done this crossover. You don't really have that option in live action, though. So I don't know how that's going to end up going. So we'll see where they end up from that standpoint. But I think the teaser at the end, I don't want to wait 3 years to pay it off. So that's insanely frustrating for me. As it is with all things in Marvel. I mean, they've left so many cliffhangers at the end that we never touched on again, right? We still don't know when Blade's coming out. Supposedly November of 2025 now, I think, if they start filming it. Mahershala Ali is going to be like 70 by the time they get to doing this. Um, and there's that payoff from the end of Eternals that they need to pay off with that, with Dane Whitman, Kit Harington's Black Knight. There's still the other payoffs from the end of the Eternals. There's Shang-Chi that we haven't seen or heard from in forever now, that was hanging out with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner at the end of that movie. Spoilers for all these other Marvel movies that are years old. Um, and I just don't understand why we're taking so long. That was the beauty of the original phases of Marvel. Like, the tease set up the next movie. Now we're setting up, maybe we'll do this in a few years. If Harry Styles is in a walker by the time he gets to play Star Fox, that's not cool. So maybe we'll get the payoff in 2025, 2026 at this point. That feels like a long way away, though. So that's all I've got for you. Yeah, look, Shang-Chi is just, we're all Ken, Dom. Just remember that. We're all Ken. Everybody's Ken. Which, another one, like a great lighthearted movie that, even though it got a little philosophical and dove into some serious subject matter here and there, was just a blast. And it's okay to have movies that are fun. I think the cinema's gotten way too far away from that and is trying to make these comic book movies so dark and dreary. And I just want to go and have fun and be able to go see something that's characters doing cool stuff and not crying and worrying about all these things. And if there's a family drama, cool, but then we go right back to the fun stuff. And again, if anybody didn't watch Miss Marvel, go back and watch Miss Marvel, then go see the Marvels. Aman Vellani is phenomenal across the board. The fact that she now also has written a few Miss Marvel comics makes her even greater than better than she already was. So let's not let her get too old, and let's run with that character while we still can, because I think you can bank on her for quite a few years still, if they play their cards right. So you can find me at jackkidmusic.com. You can find Frank at Gimzak on the socials. I just dropped a bunch of new demo videos over on my YouTube. More to come the next few days. My schedule will be coming out for next year, hopefully soon. I'm adding dates as we speak. So check me out there. Thanks for finding the Geek Spot. Tell a friend. This will go up. Oh, there you go, America Chavez. Dom, good call. I totally forgot about her. Like I said, they keep setting people up and then leaving them alone. Same thing with Clea at the end of Doctor Strange 2 also. But tell a friend. We'll be dropping some videos on YouTube, because since it did not go up, will probably be our first non-live stream on YouTube. So that's exciting. And Frank will maybe give some recaps of his Jedi excursion on there on a video as well. Maybe he'll stream some stuff from down at the park. We'll see what happens. So thanks for finding the Geek Spot. Thanks for joining, everybody. You can always continue the conversation over on Facebook at Geek Spot News, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a great night.